Director Patel, I think you're witnessing some auditions, clickbait auditions for the Academy Award for my Democratic colleagues. We'll see how they fare as they're on MSNBC later on today. But do you care, before I launch into my line of questioning, to respond to Ms. Crockett from Texas on that very elaborate and theatric display?
Here's what I've learned in my government service. I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. We're succeeding in the mission because the men and women of the FBI have never been empowered to do more work and to hit the streets harder than by President Trump's authorities and resources he's given us. And so all I care about is that we are capturing more child predators than ever before, taking more drugs off the streets than ever before, that we are capturing murderers at a significantly historic rate, and we're delivering this country the lowest murder rate in recorded history.
Okay, so imagine you're a Republican member of Congress. You've been defending Trump. You've been supporting his FBI director, Kash Patel. You've been claiming everything is fine. And then you find out that Patel just gave secret testimony to a federal judge. And in that testimony, he admitted things. He disclosed evidence. He described chaos inside the Trump administration. He talked about the Epstein files, about document removal, about political interference in FBI operations. And you had no idea any of this was coming. Nobody warned you. Nobody prepared talking points. You just found out through court leaks and news reports. And now you have to defend the indefensible, have to explain why Trump's FBI director just testified about misconduct, have to somehow spin this as good news when it's obviously a disaster. That's where the GOP is right now, shocked, blindsided, panicking. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust headlines anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people. And even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody. And then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child.
Patel appeared for a confidential hearing under court order, not voluntarily, but because a federal judge ordered him to appear and answer questions under oath. And once you're under oath, once you're in front of a judge, the calculation changes. You can't just spin, can't just deflect. You have to answer. And if you lie, that's perjury. That's a federal crime. So Patel had to choose between telling the truth and facing political consequences, or lying and facing criminal consequences. And apparently, he chose truth, at least on some questions. And what he said is explosive. According to court sources and leaked transcripts, Patel admitted that he and Attorney General Pam Bondi were briefed about Trump's name appearing in the Epstein files, that they knew that there were internal concerns about how to handle it, about document removal, about managing the political fallout. And that admission confirms what Democrats have been alleging, that there was a cover-up. That evidence was managed for political purposes. The setting was unusual, a confidential hearing before a federal judge, not a public congressional hearing where Patel could grandstand for cameras, but a closed legal proceeding where the judge sets the rules and demands answers. And judges don't mess around. They don't tolerate evasion. They don't accept political spin. They want facts. They want truth, and they have the power to compel it. So Patel was in an environment where his usual tactics don't work, where he couldn't just attack Democrats, couldn't refuse to answer. He had to actually respond to questions, actually provide information. And what he provided is now creating massive problems for Trump and for the GOP, because testimony given to a federal judge becomes part of the record, can be used in other proceedings, can be subpoenaed by Congress, becomes evidence in future cases. So whatever Patel said, it's not going away. It's permanent. The political fallout is immediate. Republicans are angry, confused, feeling betrayed, because Patel is supposed to be a Trump loyalist, supposed to be someone who protects Trump no matter what. And instead, he gave testimony that damages Trump, that confirms allegations, that provides ammunition to Trump's opponents. And GOP members didn't see it coming. So now there's chaos. Different Republicans saying different things, some defending Patel, some attacking him, some trying to minimize the damage, and none of it looks good. It all looks like a party in disarray, a party that doesn't know how to handle the fact that one of their own just testified against their leader, and Democrats are seizing on it, using Patel's testimony to justify their investigations, using his admissions to call for more subpoenas, more hearings, more accountability. Patel's approach during the testimony was apparently a mix of stonewalling and stunning admissions. On some questions, he refused to answer, claimed executive privilege or classified information concerns, but on other questions, perhaps when pressed by the judge, perhaps when the evidence was too clear to deny, he admitted things, confirmed facts, provided information that Democrats have been seeking for months. And that pattern suggests Patel was trying to protect Trump as much as possible while avoiding perjury charges, was walking a tightrope between loyalty and legality, and apparently legality won on key questions. When faced with the choice between lying to protect Trump or telling the truth to protect himself, Patel chose self-preservation, and that's going to enrage Trump, going to make Trump question Patel's loyalty, going to create tensions within the administration, because Trump demands absolute loyalty, demands that people fall on their swords for him. And Patel didn't do that. Patel told the truth when pressed. Democrats are rallying around this testimony, using it to justify more aggressive oversight, more investigation into FBI conduct under Trump. They want to question Patel publicly, want to ask about what he knows, want to understand the agent firings and the Epstein file handling, and they're positioning this as vindication, as proof they were right all along, as evidence that Trump's administration has been corrupt and that investigations are justified. And that narrative is powerful because it's coming from Trump's own FBI director, from someone who was supposed to protect Trump. And when your own people start confirming your opponent's allegations, that's devastating politically. That's the kind of thing that shifts public opinion, that makes it harder to dismiss everything as partisan attacks. So buckle up, because we're about to break down exactly what Patel said, why it shocked the GOP, and what it means for Trump's increasingly chaotic administration. All right, let's dig into the specifics of what Kash Patel allegedly said in this secret testimony. Because the details matter, the admissions matter, and the context around why he was testifying at all, that matters too. So we start with why Patel was ordered to appear. A federal judge overseeing cases related to Trump's conduct determined that Patel has relevant information about how the FBI under his direction has handled Trump-related investigations, about the Epstein files, about classified document cases, about the mass firings of agents. And the judge ordered Patel to provide that information, not requested, ordered, with the threat of contempt if he refused. So Patel had no choice but to appear, had to show up, had to answer questions. And that's significant because it shows the judge isn't treating Patel as someone who can simply refuse to cooperate, isn't accepting executive privilege claims without scrutiny, is demanding accountability from Trump's own FBI director. According to court leaks and reporting, Patel admitted that both he and Attorney General Pam Bondi were briefed about Trump's name appearing in the Epstein files. This is huge because it confirms what Democrats have been alleging, that Trump's team knew about his connection to Epstein, knew the files contained damaging information, and had advance warning to prepare their response. And when you combine that with earlier reporting that Bondi briefed Trump about the files, you get a picture of coordination, of Trump's AG and FBI director managing information to protect Trump politically. And that's not how it's supposed to work. The Attorney General and FBI director are supposed to be independent, supposed to enforce the law impartially, not supposed to be coordinating with the president about how to handle politically sensitive information. So Patel's admission confirms that independence has been compromised, that Trump's law enforcement officials are functioning as his personal lawyers rather than as public servants. Patel also apparently addressed concerns about document removal, about evidence being taken or destroyed or managed in ways that raise questions. And while the full details aren't public, the fact that he addressed it at all is significant, suggests that documents related to Trump or to sensitive investigations have been handled improperly. And when you combine that with the allegations against Bondi, with court findings that documents went missing, you get a pattern of evidence being managed to protect Trump, a pattern of law enforcement being corrupted for political purposes. And Patel's testimony confirms that pattern exists, confirms that there are legitimate concerns about how evidence has been handled. The mass firing of senior FBI agents came up too. Patel has fired numerous experienced agents, people who've been with the Bureau for years, people who've worked on high-profile cases, and the stated reason has been job performance. But Patel apparently acknowledged political headwinds during his testimony, acknowledged that there were political considerations, and several senators who were briefed on the testimony said that's code. That political headwinds means these agents were fired for political reasons, for not being loyal enough to Trump, for working on investigations Trump didn't like, and firing agents for political reasons. That's exactly the kind of conduct that FBI independence is supposed to prevent. But Patel apparently hasn't maintained that independence, has fired people for political reasons, and his admission of political headwinds confirms it. Patel also made admissions that shocked even people expecting controversy. He apparently confirmed that the FBI under his watch has collected hundreds of gigabytes of new data on Trump-related scandals. Hundreds of gigabytes. That's massive. That's thousands of documents, communications, records, evidence. And the fact that this data exists, that it's been collected, that is sitting in FBI files, that's significant, because it means investigations have been happening, evidence has been gathered, and that evidence could be subpoenaed, could be demanded by Congress, could be reviewed by independent prosecutors. And if there are hundreds of gigabytes of evidence related to Trump scandals, what's in there? What has the FBI found? What misconduct has been documented, and why hasn't it been acted on? Those are the questions Democrats are now asking, and they're demanding access to that data, demanding to know what the FBI knows about Trump. Patel also clashed with senators during other hearings, refused to answer certain questions, claimed he couldn't discuss ongoing investigations, invoked classified information concerns, and those refusals frustrated Democrats, made them more suspicious, made them think Patel is hiding something. Because when you refuse to answer questions, when you claim everything is classified or sensitive, you create the impression of a cover-up, of someone who has information that would be damaging if revealed, and that impression matters politically, makes it harder for Republicans to defend Patel, makes it easier for Democrats to argue for more aggressive oversight, for special counsels, for independent investigations that Patel can't control or influence. The confidential nature of the hearing creates its own issues, because the full testimony isn't public, only selected details have leaked, only certain admissions have been reported, and that creates uncertainty, creates speculation. Republicans can claim the testimony was taken out of context, that the leaks are misleading, but Democrats can point to the admissions, can highlight the problematic statements, can use the leaked information to justify their narrative, and without the full transcript being public, it's hard to know exactly what happened, and that ambiguity probably serves Patel, gives him room to claim he was misunderstood, to say his testimony was actually exculpatory, but the leaks that have emerged are damaging enough. The admissions about Epstein files, about document concerns, about political headwinds, about hundreds of gigabytes of data, those are all serious, all problematic. The GOP reaction has been chaotic. According to reporting, multiple Republican members expressed anger or confusion. They feel blindsided, feel like Patel should have warned them, should have coordinated with party leadership before giving testimony that would create political problems. And they're questioning Patel's judgment, questioning whether he's really a Trump loyalist if he's willing to admit things under oath that damage Trump politically. And that questioning is fracturing Trump's coalition, because Trump demands loyalty above all else. And when someone in a key position like FBI director gives testimony that helps Trump's opponents, even if he had no choice, Trump and his allies see that as betrayal. So Patel is now in a precarious position, having angered Trump by testifying honestly, while also having angered Democrats by not being fully cooperative, caught between two hostile forces. Senate Democrats are using Patel's testimony to call for more hearings, more subpoenas, more investigation into FBI conduct under Trump. They want to question Patel publicly, want to ask about the hundreds of gigabytes of data, want to know about the Epstein files, want to understand the agent firings, and they're threatening to use their oversight authority aggressively to compel testimony, to demand documents. And those investigations are going to be uncomfortable for Patel and for Trump, going to generate negative headlines, going to keep these issues in the news, going to make it harder for the administration to move on. In every hearing, every new revelation, every admission, it weakens Trump, makes him look more corrupt, makes his administration look more dysfunctional, makes voters question whether they made the right choice. So let's break down what Kash Patel's secret testimony means, why it shocked the GOP, what the implications are for Trump, for the FBI, for ongoing investigations, because this isn't just another hearing. This is Trump's own FBI director providing information under oath that damages Trump politically and legally, that confirms allegations Democrats have been making, that creates new vulnerabilities. First, the significance of judicial compulsion. A federal judge ordered Patel to testify, and Patel complied. That shows courts still have authority over executive branch officials, still can compel testimony even from Trump appointees, and that's crucial for accountability, because if executive branch officials could simply refuse judicial orders, then oversight would be impossible. But Patel's compliance shows that system still works, shows that judicial authority matters, shows that even Trump's closest allies can be forced to provide information when courts demand it, and that precedent is going to be used again, going to be cited when other officials try to resist testimony. Second, the admission about the Epstein files. This is devastating politically. Because Epstein is toxic, any connection to him is politically damaging. And Patel admitting that he and Bondi were briefed about Trump's name in the files, that confirms the connection exists, confirms there's information about Trump and Epstein that his team wanted to manage. And that confirmation is going to dominate news cycles, going to be used in campaign ads, going to be investigated by Congress, because voters want to know what the connection is, want to know what information exists, want to understand why Trump's team was so concerned about it. And the fact that both the Attorney General and FBI Director were coordinating on this suggests the concern was serious, suggests the information is really damaging. Third, the evidence of political interference. Patel acknowledged political headwinds in the agent firings, and that acknowledgement confirms political interference in FBI operations, confirms agents were fired for reasons beyond job performance, and that's exactly what FBI independence is supposed to prevent. The Bureau is supposed to be insulated from politics, supposed to investigate based on evidence, not based on political convenience. And Patel's acknowledgement shows that independence has been compromised, shows that FBI under his leadership has become politicized, and that's going to be used to call for his removal, to demand reforms, because once the FBI becomes a political tool, once it starts serving presidential interests rather than pursuing justice, it loses credibility, loses public trust, and rebuilding that trust is going to take years even after Patel is gone. Fourth, the hundreds of gigabytes of data. Patel's admission that the FBI has collected massive amounts of data on Trump-related scandals raises questions. What's in that data? What has the FBI found? Why hasn't it been acted on? Is Patel sitting on evidence of crimes? And Democrats are going to demand access to that data, going to subpoena it, going to insist on knowing what the FBI knows. And even if they don't get full access, the fact that the data exists creates the impression that Trump has committed crimes that are being covered up, that there's evidence sitting in FBI files that would damn him if it ever became public. And that impression is politically powerful, makes voters think Trump is guilty. Fifth, the GOP panic. Republicans are furious at Patel, feel betrayed, feel like he should have protected Trump better, and that fury is creating internal divisions. Some Republicans defend Patel, say he had no choice, say he was under oath and had to tell the truth, but others attack him, say he gave away too much, say he wasn't loyal enough, and those divisions weaken the party, make it harder to present a unified front, make it easier for Democrats to exploit Republican disagreements, because when Republicans are fighting each other, voters notice, voters see chaos, voters question whether Republicans can govern. Sixth, the legal exposure Patel faces. He's already under investigation for potential Hatch Act violations, and now he's giving testimony that might be used in that investigation, might provide evidence that he politicized the FBI, that he used his position for partisan purposes. And if that investigation finds violations, Patel could face serious consequences, could be removed from his position, could face fines, could have his career destroyed. And that exposure is going to affect his future conduct, going to make him more careful, more focused on protecting himself than on protecting Trump. And that's going to make him less useful to Trump, less willing to take risks. Seventh, the impact on other witnesses. Patel's testimony shows that resisting judicial orders doesn't work, that you will be compelled to testify, that you will have to answer questions under oath, and that precedent is going to affect other potential witnesses. Trump allies who are thinking about refusing subpoenas are going to see what happened to Patel, going to see that the strategy doesn't work, and they're going to be more cooperative, more willing to testify, more willing to provide information, because they'll know that resisting just leads to contempt charges and forced testimony anyway. And that's going to create a cascade, more witnesses testifying, more information coming out, more admissions damaging Trump. 8. The connection to Bondi's troubles. Patel admitting he and Bondi were briefed together about the Epstein files ties them together, makes it harder for either to claim they acted independently. And as Bondi faces evidence tampering allegations, Patel's testimony provides more ammunition, provides more evidence of coordination. And if both the Attorney General and the FBI Director were coordinating to protect Trump, if both were compromising their offices for political purposes, that's massive institutional corruption. That's the kind of conduct that should lead to resignations or removals or even criminal charges. 9th, the calls for special counsel. Democrats are using Patel's testimony to argue that Trump's DOJ can't be trusted to investigate itself, that you can't have Bondi and Patel overseeing investigations into Trump when they were coordinating with Trump, that an independent prosecutor is needed, and Patel's admissions strengthen that argument, make it clearer that outside oversight is necessary, and if a special counsel is appointed, if an independent prosecutor gets access to those hundreds of gigabytes of data, then Trump is in serious jeopardy. Because independent prosecutors don't answer to the president, don't worry about political consequences, just follow evidence wherever it leads. 10th, the 2026 implications. All of this is happening as we head toward midterm elections, and these scandals are going to be campaign fodder. Democrats are going to run ads about Patel's testimony, about his admission of political interference, about coordination with Bondi on Epstein files, and they're going to argue that Republicans can't be trusted, that they've corrupted law enforcement, and that message is going to resonate with swing voters, with independents, with people who care about institutional integrity, and it's going to cost Republican seats. So where does this leave us? With Trump's FBI director having given secret testimony that damages Trump, that confirms Democratic allegations, that exposes political interference, that reveals massive amounts of evidence sitting in FBI files, that shocks Republicans, that strengthens calls for special counsel investigation. The pattern is clear now. Trump surrounds himself with loyalists, demands they protect him. But when those loyalists face judicial authority, when they're put under oath, when they're threatened with perjury charges, they choose self-preservation over loyalty. They tell the truth, and that truth damages Trump, confirms what investigators suspect, provides ammunition to his opponents. We'll keep covering every development, every hearing, every admission, because this is the accountability moment. This is when Trump's decades of avoiding consequences finally catch up to him. Stay tuned, because Patel's testimony is just the beginning.